Hey, on today's podcast, I have Hakeem Valles. How are you today, Hakeem?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on the show.
Appreciate it. Hakeem is a public speaker, a real estate investor, and a very, very young, retired professional football player. Am I missing anything there? And a new dad and a fiance.
And a new dad, yeah.
Yeah. You got a lot going on in your life, brother.
Yes, sir. Just trying to keep it going, ripping and running.
I still have such a hard time. Anybody that's my daughter's age saying the word retired, but I guess I have to. After 3 or 4 years in the NFL, and, even traveling when you're in college, what was the biggest challenge for you being in the NFL and, having a fiance?
Honestly, my biggest challenge in terms of, it was really just my time and managing my time and figuring out, ultimately what is my passion and what am I going to do the rest of my life? Because understanding from the beginning that football is not forever and it's something that I can't leverage for the rest of my life, and being self-aware enough to know that I'm not one of these A-list celebrity on like a long-term, $100 million contract.
Really the Drew Brees.
Yeah, exactly. Being aware that I'm a journeyman. I played for 3 years and I was on 3 different teams, kind of traveling around, uprooting, lifting my family up, going to the next city, getting adjusted, getting accumulated. That's probably was essentially one of the hardest parts, and what essentially led me to retiring was I couldn't be the real estate investor that I wanted to be, the professional speaker that I wanted to be, and the dad that I wanted to be, and also be an NFL player, because just with, like you said before, you need some sort of stability for your family in that sense, especially when you're really about to double down on what you're passionate about, because, this next phase of my life, I'm really, really kind of getting after it, whereas the NFL was cool. I put my work in, I did my thing, but now I'm doing something that revolves around, more me instead of the owner's goals. I'm really going after my own goals. So I'm really like on fire right now.
I can totally appreciate that. And that's literally where my podcast came from, is I have complete control.
Absolutely.
And if I want to market it more, I can. If I want to do it less, I can do it less. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm not at the beck and call. So.
Exactly.
What's the biggest challenge for you with the speaking part of it?
In terms of speaking right now, I guess one of my biggest challenge right now is probably missing just some of those small moments with my daughter. I love speaking, I love impacting, and I love giving back. But at the same time, being a father at the end of the day, you don't want to miss some of those small moments. You come back from, 1 day on the road or 2 days on the road, you're like, oh my God, she's doing something different. And I guess where it becomes challenging, but I love the challenge. Where it becomes more challenging is instead, where if I didn't have a daughter, maybe some of these trips that I take would be maybe a little bit longer and not as quick, compact, and turn right back around.
Yeah.
Where now so if I'm in St. Louis for the time, and like that's where my family is, and I have to go to New York for maybe one meeting where I could really get in like 4 meetings in that week, I'll take the first flight in, be in meetings and talking to people, and get a public speaking event in as well, and finish off with another meeting and be on the red eye by that night back to St. Louis. And that can get, it can get tiring, but at the end of the day, I think it's all worth it. When you wake up that next morning after being super tired from ripping and running, and you see your daughter right there, it's an unreal feeling.
You may or may not believe me, but you'll eventually get caught up on your sleep.
I hope so. It's
as a dad that went through it, the biggest travel moment I could tell you with my daughters is they both played lacrosse in high school, and they were a junior and senior in high school, and I was up in the San Francisco Bay Area for work, which is about a 6.5 hour drive. And they were playing their big rival, and my oldest daughter's senior year, and it was the big rivalry. It was Ohio State, Michigan,
Oh wow, yep.
And so I'm like, shit. So I literally scheduled my appointments without telling them. I drove down on a Wednesday. Game was on a Wednesday. I was supposed to be there Sunday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Drove down, made the game, I showed up and they were there. And then I had to drive home back up to San Francisco that night and then have meetings the next day.
And that's just all part of the grind, man.
Yeah, that was a 13-hour round-trip drive for an hour and a half lacrosse game.
Wow. I love that.
And I won't even tell you the fact that my youngest daughter tore her ACL that game. And so I was literally the one that carried her off the field. So I kept thinking, man, if I hadn't gone,
who would have been that person?
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah.
So, and guess what? I feel fine now. I was tired as hell for about a week, you know.
I can believe it, man. I can believe that.
A couple of years later, I'm fine. Now it's just a good story, and you'll have the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know, you'll just be sharing the same story. When you were a football player, you know, you were with the Cardinals and the Lions. You know, my wife was born and raised in Detroit, so when I saw the Lions jersey, I was like, yeah, all right. What was the hardest part about, you know, I can't imagine like being a salesman. They go, hey, you just got drafted to Florida. You know, you're gonna be a salesman in Florida for this year. And then the next year they go, hey, by the way, you just got drafted by Minnesota, and you're gonna be a salesman up in Minnesota this year. That's got to be just a weird kind of like lifestyle. You literally don't know how long you're gonna be there.
Exactly, and how to ingrain yourself in that culture, in that area, and all in that city.
Yeah.
It's something that I think it's just something that I've inherently had, or just have always just adjusted well with. Like even like if you go take it back to high school, like I went to boarding school for high school, so like instantly in high school it was a completely different environment. Not around any of my friends anymore, and just around a completely new set of friends. And had to adapt really fast. And then you go to college, obviously, new set of friends, adapt really fast. But when it comes to the NFL, for me, when you look at a lot of NFL players, a lot of guys kind of stay in their bubble, stay in their shell, don't necessarily, you know, some guys are, whether they're A-list celebrities and it's almost to the point where it's exhausting to step out of the house, or they're not necessarily A-list celebrities. Some guys are just, no one's, I mean, straight up being for real, they're full of themselves.
Yeah.
And think they're too good to go to the grocery store, too good to, you know what I'm saying, leave the house and things like that. And I was the kind of guy who was just, you know, always out there just trying to do things and trying to meet people. You know, whether that was, I mean, like when I was on the Cardinals, I mean, we went bowling probably 3 to 4 times a week just because it was a great time. Like when I was on the Lions, I really, just from a real estate perspective, there's this one site called Bigger Pockets where you can kind of help yourself meet new investors in different areas. And I really took advantage of that. And that was my way of getting ingrained to the Detroit culture, was meeting different real estate investors. And now like one of my business partners, who's one of my, I mean, almost my best friend now, it started with him and him introducing me to so many different people, bringing me to so many different events, whether it's something as small as, hey, it's my mom's birthday this weekend and we're having a bunch of people over the house, you want to come by?
Yeah.
Things like that, you can slowly get so ingrained into just any type of community. Then you meet somebody else there and it's like, oh, hey, I'm doing this time. Would you like to come by? And it kind of comes down to just opening yourself up. I think when I was a rookie, it was a little bit harder in Arizona. It was cool because it was in Arizona. It's more of a younger city. But as a rookie, young and naive, you're inherently just a little bit more fuller of yourself and don't really care about those things and not really trying to take in the vibrations of the scene. Whereas once I kind of grew up a little bit,
a year later,
exactly, it kind of came down to, you know, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Like, take advantage of it during the lifetime of this opportunity, because, you know, while you're here, you're never going to get this platform back again.
It's so interesting you say that, because I'm pretty sure you know Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh my gosh, I try and model my life after him. Not necessarily step by step, but his content strategy and the way, some of his theses of just kind of how he handles himself. I love his stuff.
Did you see his speech to the University of Alabama?
Yeah, it was amazing.
The football
guys. Yep.
Yeah, I would like to. I wish I could show that to every high school kid and college. You know, like take the headphones off and you're not too cool, because the guys you're going to want to be applying for jobs for are the ones you're ignoring right now.
Exactly. I mean, that's probably one of the truest statements you've ever said, and that's something that, honestly, when I was in Detroit, I started to try and teach a few of my teammates. They'd come over to my house. My fiance would cook dinner. I had like a massive bookshelf full of just a bunch of different books that I would kind of give out to my teammates. But I would tell them, like, guys, like, one, people would like to meet you as opposed to, like, you being too cool to meet other people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, people would be thrilled if you just said as something as simple as hello, or as simple as just following up. Like, that's where my biggest advantage came up to, is like, I learned this a few years back, that the fortune is in the follow-up. Like, we're presented opportunities every single day, depending on different types of angles, small, big, whatever, but no one follows up on it. Like, oh, hey, you want to come by my house in Southern California? I got jet skis here if you want to come by. And yeah, that's cool. And no one ever follows up. I'm the guy who's actually going to be following up and be on those jet skis and figure out how this friendship can turn into something even greater.
But it's so interesting because, listening to Gary is literally the reason why I have my podcast.
That's awesome.
Because he just said, I don't care if you're over 40 or over 50, you can do it. I was like, oh, shit. Because I always thought, literally my youngest daughter helped me with my website, helped me set up the podcast, helped me with the apps, all the things I didn't know about. She, within a minute, found it.
That's awesome.
And so, I'm trucking along, and all my friends are like, why are these people talking to you? I don't know. I'm asking.
That's so true.
I'm being polite.
Exactly. And I think everybody has a story. It's just a point of someone reaching out to you and asking if you want to tell your story. And I feel like most people would love to be on a podcast for the most part. You know what I mean?
I'm starting to get to where, I'll do it, but talk to my assistant. I've gotten a few of those now. All right.
Got you. Some Hollywood guys.
They're not even Hollywood. They're just, a couple of NASCAR drivers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. So, like you said with the follow-up, totally 100% agree.
Yeah, it's so true. Because there's just there's so much that is just out there, and it just comes like some of the like a real estate deal that I'm working on right now came up because I followed up. Like I bought a duplex when I was on the Lions and lived in one unit and Airbnb'd upstairs. But the broker who sold me that duplex, he happened to just always have different type of investors and businessmen in his office, and he said, hey, just come by whenever you want. And I always have people in the office that are willing to help you, and they're big Lions fans and things like that. And I was like, yeah, I'll come by. And I would come by like maybe once a month, once every 3 weeks during the off season. And one of those times I came by, boom. Now that relationship is going to be something that'll last forever.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you that the advice I never got, and my old boss, a commercial developer, he was a commercial real estate developer, and he built huge buildings. 20-story office buildings. And I was like, and he was a young guy. He was like my age, and this is 10 years ago, so he was like 40, and literally responsible for millions of square feet. And he belonged to a couple of clubs, the Jonathan Club, and he was a young president's organization, the YPO, and we went to the Jonathan's Club, and it was there weren't a lot of 40-year-olds in there, put it that way. It was a lot of 60, 70, 80-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And so we went to lunch there, and we'd leave, and I go, hey, why'd you join here? I go, yeah, well, first, how long you been a member here? And he goes, right out of college. And I go, why would you join at 25, 25, 26? Why would you join a club like this? Because my dad told me, he said, join all the clubs and organizations you want when you're young because you haven't pissed anybody off yet.
Damn, that's so true.
He said, you haven't burned anybody because when you get older and you're doing deals, you're always you might do a deal that burns somebody else.
Exactly.
Intentionally or unintentionally. That guy might be on the board of a club or a golf course that you want to join or whatever, and he's going to remember you and go off with you. But if you join now before you pissed anybody off, then it's just, hey, we did a deal. Oh, it didn't work out. Sorry, buddy. I'm like, man, I wasn't getting that kind of advice. That wasn't the world my dad came from.
That's so true, man. That's awesome. That I appreciate that advice as well. Just going to me, just still being young and fresh. That's so true.
Well, and that's why I thought it really made me think of you, because you're right there where you're doing the same stuff. Just very smart to start networking before you've upset people.
Absolutely.
I'm using polite words. It's not the words you use. I'm using words for the public.
No doubt.
Yeah. So it's very cool to see. What you've never not had technology.
It's so true.
I'm kind of curious, like, what was the name of the website that you're Big Pockets?
Oh, Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets. It's like the Facebook for real estate, honestly. And like how I use it is how I've used it since I've been using it since I found it when I put my MBA on hold and I started training for the NFL. They also have a podcast as well. So I was listening to their podcast for educational purposes. And then I actually went on the platform once I made it to the Cardinals. And I made a simple post. Hi, my name is Hakeem Valles. I'm a new tight end for the Arizona Cardinals, looking to network with like-minded real estate investors in the area. Looking forward to it. And maybe 20, 30, 40 people responded to that forum thread. And I sent them all individual messages and took them all out to lunch, all out to coffee. And that's how I spent the first month of my off season. And literally every single day, I'd stay at this one Starbucks right by where I was living at, and like every hour a different investor would come, and I'd be sitting in that same chair and just picking their brains off of what they were doing. And sometimes they take me to their properties and give me a real life insight of exactly what they're doing, seeing their SOPs, seeing everything that they do. Even their small kinks, like, this is whenever you have a rental property, I always keep my keys in my car, so in case anyone ever breaks into my house, they never know which property it is, and then the keys on the just small little kinks and small little tricks. And kind of did the same exact thing when I went to Detroit. Hey, my name's Hakeem, new tight end on the Detroit Lions. Been investing in real estate for the past 3-4 years. More focused on multifamily properties, looking to connect with like-minded individuals. Same exact thing. Took all those people, added them to my network, picked all their brains, and just kept following up. I mean, you could do that with one person, and you just keep following up on that person, and I'm sure that tandem will lead out to even multiple connections. I'm just always thinking big picture and casting a wide net, and it's amazing. It's a free site. It's a free service. I think there's like a paid version if you want to, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form.
Not yet.
They have a paid version for because they also have like a deal analyzer on there, so you can analyze real estate deals. But it's been an awesome site, and it helps you when, for example, after my second year, I went on a month of just being on the road after I decided my markets that I wanted to invest in. It was this is 2 years ago, and they've changed since. But the markets were Phoenix, Columbia, South Carolina, Las Vegas, Indianapolis, and St. Louis. So January 1st hit last off season. Right before I hit the road in those cities, I knew it was January, but I love to golf. And Vegas, it's always warm. So in Vegas, I hit up, I put up a post on the forum, any golfers that are also multifamily real estate investors in Las Vegas. And somebody responded, and we spent the day on the golf course. He showed me the properties he's working on and things like that. But that is, that's probably the beauty of Bigger Pockets.
And that's the one thing. You get what you get with when you're born, obviously. And I didn't have that when I was in commercial real estate. It was literally walking from industrial site to industrial site, handing out flyers and trying to introduce yourself.
It's so true. Technology makes us so much closer, and the different advantages that honestly we have now in 2019. But it's funny from a DNA perspective. You go on construction to construct the construction site is essentially the same exact thing, just without a computer.
Yeah, I would literally, you go to an industrial property in LA, and there's parks. It's where things are zoned industrial.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't worth it to drive because then you have to put the parking lot. So you would literally take handfuls of flyers, walk around with myself, Hi, I'm Pete. I'm with, I was at Grubb and Ellis. I was with Trammell Crow, and then they got bought by C.B. Richard Ellis. And, but yeah, I mean, that's how we networked. It was, and now you can go on LinkedIn. You got the bigger pockets.
It's unreal. We're so connected right now that it's a beautiful thing. 2019 is the greatest time to be alive.
And I totally agree. And that's, this past Saturday, I went to a dinner party, and the guy I was talking to was in probably his mid-60s, and he's a CEO of a tech company. But he goes, I don't really know tech. I just hire people for that stuff. And I go, so he has a company it's a medical device that's Bluetooth connected. And you put your finger on one thing, it literally checks your heart rate, your blood oxygen percentages, a whole diastolic and all that, and then it'll send that report to your phone, and then you can send it to your doctor.
That's awesome.
So it was cool.
That's awesome.
And he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna I hire kids, and it's not that hard, Neil. I mean, you should be having a podcast. You get to have all these different things. And he's like, I'll leave it to the kids. And I just didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be that old curmudgeon guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes 100% sense.
I didn't want to be the guy that goes, I could have, if I would have had that chance. Yeah, that chance is still there.
That's hilarious.
It's still happening. What do you think has been the most difficult part of you traveling for the last 3 years for your fiance?
I think the most difficult part, and it's something that I'm working on as we speak right now, is the amount of just clutter and stuff. Like, as you know, I'm an avid traveler. I travel like a lot more than most.
Yeah.
I am starting to really, really, really simplify my packing process and becoming more of a minimalist. And I'm in the process of I have 2 storage units here in New Jersey, and I'm probably getting rid of about 80% of my clothes and my shoes and things like that, just to simplify the things that I do. Because I work out, but when I'm doing my speeches, I probably wear a combination of 2 or 3 different outfits, like always.
Yeah.
And the pants that I wear like 4 different versions of the same brand of khakis. I wear 4 different versions of the same brand of shirt.
Yeah.
Everything else is honestly just it's clutter. And my biggest issue is I'm one of those guys who's so in the moment, and I'm perfectly fine with it because I'm the guy who's comfortable in chaos. I'm the guy steering the cruise ship in the middle of the storm. But on my cell phone while doing it. No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
But while it takes me about 10 minutes. Like 10 minutes before we're leaving to the airport is when I'm packing. And it's not like a stressful process for me, but it makes some of the people around me stressed out. Mainly because I have so much stuff. And it's but I know exactly what I want. Boom, boom, boom. And I don't like anybody else touching my stuff or packing my own stuff, because then it essentially makes me not know where any of my own stuff is. So what I'm working on, and one of the biggest challenges, is it's having too much stuff. My biggest goal is to never have to, literally unless it's necessary, is to never have to check a bag, because I'm usually just traveling my backpack and I bring my camera with me. And it's been a difficult process because it's hard getting rid of a lot of different things, but it's so necessary because it brings you so less stress when you don't have to when you have to worry about when you wake up, what am I going to wear out of the 1,000 shirts that I have in my closet?
Yeah, the one thing I would tell you is, because I'm very similar to you, like when I travel, because I think in the last couple of years I've hit like 34 different states. Most of them are for 4-day trips, and then I have some week-long trips. I have some 2-week-long trips. But
okay.
For the most part, I know where I'm going. I'll look up the weather and see what the weather's going to give me. Do I need to bring a jacket or whatever? But I literally pack just almost exactly what I need. So whereas my wife, well, you never know.
Very true.
What if we go here? What if we do? I don't know. I'm going to bring these shoes just in case. I don't bring any extra shoes. I don't bring any extra underwear, any extra socks. I know exactly what I'm going to need. Very, very, very rarely now. So I go, oh, I should have brought that.
It's so true, man. I feel you. I feel you 100%. Like that. I mean, hands down, it's my biggest upside, but it's also my biggest downside, because then sometimes I forget like small stuff like a charger, or small stuff like a pair of headphones, or like, honestly, my biggest one is always chargers, because then I wind up getting to the airport, and because of my businesses, I need to have my phone in certain situations. And if it's dead, it's like, what are you doing? And then once you're on the plane, as you and I both know, as a traveler and having kids, the most quiet time you get and the most focused time you probably get is on a plane.
Yeah.
And so if I don't have my phone while I'm traveling, or my iPad or things like that, then I need, I need that type of stuff with me. So I have to buy a $50 charger in the airport and then return it next time I go back to the airport, and make sure I remember the receipt and all that type of stuff so I can get my money back. That's probably one of my biggest issues, just forgetting the small stuff, because I'm not necessarily worried about it, because it does figure itself out in the end. Like, no one's ever going to die because of it.
Yeah.
But it might not necessarily cause you stress, but it can cause the people around you stress, which inherently causes you stress.
The thing I had to learn was to not expect everyone to be like me.
Exactly.
I'm very, dude, I know exactly. I could go through my backpack in the dark and find my extra battery pack,
to someone else,
my extra screwdriver for my glasses, my extra set of sunglasses, my extra pair of readers. I know where everything is. But my wife's not like that. And I have to appreciate that she's not like that. And my kids they don't pack that way. But for me, it's just how I had to be, because I hated being, what I do is very rural. So I'll fly into Bismarck, North Dakota, and have to drive over to Dickinson, North Dakota.
Yep.
Well, there's nothing in between those two cities. And when I say nothing, like, there's not even a lot of gas stations in between. There's nothing. And, I didn't want to be like you. I didn't want to be without a charger or, this or that. So I just made sure I had it all. And it's funny because I always think you get what you're supposed to have. Meaning, if I was meant to win the lottery, I would have won it. I don't need it, though. You know what I mean?
So true. Absolutely.
And you get what you need at the time. And the podcast and all that, this is what I need at the time, because I'm able to start sharing things and also share other people's stories to a whole bunch of people.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what your public speaking. I think that's awesome.
No doubt. Yeah, speaking's been something that's kind of really been something that's been since I've retired, I've really just been double downing on it. It's something that I didn't necessarily want to do while I was playing, because I didn't necessarily want the attention on me. And as I, focus on and pay more attention to Gary Vee, attention's our biggest asset. You know what I mean? And telling my story is, when I was in college, I was a bench player. Like I did not see the field until my senior year. And then, I'm not sure if I had a very traumatic experience happen to me after graduating college. I was in Haiti with my mom, dad, some nurses, and a missionary group, and we were giving out medicine at different churches and orphanages across the country. And while we were there, middle of the night, May 29th, 2015, our compound was raided by 8 bandits. They shot through the front door, shot at me personally, flipped over a table and hog-tied all of us, hands tied behind your back, feet tied at your ankles, hand tied to your feet, and then blindfolded. And then those bandits then stole everything, tied everybody up, robbed the entire house, went room to room stealing everything. We called the cops. Cops wouldn't come. Called the neighbors to shoot their guns in the air to scare them off. Didn't necessarily work. And then when the cops finally came, they scurried off. The bandits scurried off, and the cops were there for 5 minutes and told us good luck. And that was in Haiti, third world country, and after something like that happens to you, one, it gets really, really quiet in your head, but two, you truly, truly understand the value of life and just the value of, honestly, everything, every relationship you make, every person you touch, every person you can reach. And that's something that I didn't necessarily take. That happened before I went to the NFL, and that honestly sprung me into the NFL, because after something like that happened, it was easy to do any type of workout, get your butt kicked, and any type of workout.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's not as bad as being covered in your own urine in a third world country about to die. You know what I mean?
Everything becomes very relative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that kind of just really just motivated me. And now where I am now, now I have the platform to actually tell my story and inspire people to, whether it's, this morning I was speaking on, teaching this group of middle school kids, like I was telling you, on how to be self-aware and making smart decisions. And I started out the story by just kind of telling my own story and giving them kind of perspective on me, and then gaining their attention by a story like that, and then giving them the information and the proper tools that they need to be successful.
Do you think that I actually heard that story from you online, but didn't want to share it without you telling it. But how did that not? I'm trying to think. A lot of people, I would say, that would scare from traveling.
Absolutely.
I mean, to have that mentality, how do you get around that? I mean, you're a big guy. It's kind of strange to think, a 6'3", 6'4", in shape, young guy still has the same issues that everybody else has.
Absolutely. It kind of came down to, one, it's hard because, like you said, 6'5", I'm a 6'5", young guy, football player and all that. And now I'm in such a vulnerable position after, something so serious happened. And I was in a state of awful PTSD, having panic attacks and things like that. And I had to go and seek help. And after kind of seeing that help, it really essentially transformed me. It wasn't necessarily ruin my fear of flying or traveling in a sense like that, but it made me a lot more aware. But then it also, to a deeper level, it gives you a lot more perspective in just essentially the world we live in.
Appreciation, I guess. Yeah.
What are, bandits, 8 bandits robbing missionaries, providing help and medicine to your own country? What is going on in the lives of those 8 people that they have to do things like that in the middle of the night in order to survive? You know what I mean? It kind of gives you even more deeper perspective into the world we live in. Those guys, after doing that, 2 weeks later, they tried to do it again to a group of missionaries in Haiti as well. 2 of them got caught, and the city and the police, they burned those 2 people alive and then shot them dead in front of everyone. But, that's the world we live in, and from the perspective of, traveling and stuff like that, I just think it's there's good and there's evil, but I think there's always good in everyone. But there's those few bad what's the word? Those few bad pumpkins out there. I don't know what the word is.
Bad egg. Yeah. Bad
apples out there, and it can ruin it for a lot of other people. But me personally now, when it comes to traveling, I won't travel to Haiti until I can afford and provide the adequate security that I need. But it doesn't necessarily refrain me from, traveling anymore. It's just, you got to be aware things like that can happen at any moment. You can be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can be good.
Yeah, I think I was watching a thing with the Somali pirates.
Yep.
And I was like, I mean, how bad do your situation have to be for you to forcibly go onto a boat, knowing that you're more than likely to get shot at, and still that's what you do because that's it.
It's crazy. It's wild. That's perspective. It really comes down to perspective.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't condone what they do. You try and appreciate where they're coming from.
It's so true, and especially now having a daughter myself. I can slightly feel for them in the sense of, what if I couldn't afford to feed my kid? Yeah. What if my kid couldn't eat?
Yeah. What if you had to go steal or rob somebody just so you could feed your kid?
You got to do what you got to do at the end of the day, but it sucks to be on the other end side of it. You know what I mean?
It sucks all the way around.
Oh, yeah, I mean, in totality, exactly. It's bad.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's bad, but you can understand it from a perspective angle.
Yeah, and I do the same thing. And I think when I was younger, before I had kids, I didn't have that perspective. And then, as I've been through 3 economic downturns in my life. The first one was without kids, and the next 2 were with kids. And you sit and you start thinking, shit, it's not just me. If it was just me, like the first time it happened, you just moved in with a couple friends, you get a cheaper car, you don't go out, you get through it.
Yep.
But when you have kids, you're like, and the spouse, you're like, okay, time to make this hustle.
Yeah.
And you've been hustling. I still like that your phone repairman.
Those were the good days, man. And I was fixing phones. My little brother broke his phone for the 10th, 8th or 9th time. I don't know how many times he had broke it. And my dad was like, "That's it, man. I'm not fixing it anymore." And I was like, "Let me check it out." Took me about 6 hours, but turned it on, and that bad boy worked. And from an entrepreneurial angle, I don't think I explained this on the videos, but I realized that I could now, after I became the iPhone repairman for Monmouth University, and when I realized that, phone screens only cost $30, I could fix them for $60. I was fixing about 3-4 phones a day. But then I realized that I could sell my cracked screens to a recycle company in Alabama for $5 a screen. And I was like, whoa.
I make money on both ends.
Yeah, but then I was like, let me go and reach out to all the iPhone repair companies in the entire area of my school. So I went to all the local repairmen, went to Craigslist to see what guys were repairing phones, went to I think it was like 2 stores, one at the mall, and there was one in like a small town near my school, and told those guys, hey, what are you doing with your cracked screens? And the guy's like, oh, I got them in a huge bag out back. Like, what's your thoughts on me buying those from you for $2 a screen? Yeah. Like, yeah, sure, no problem. I was like, oh my gosh. Took him back to my dorm room. Like, my dorm room in college had boxes and bubble wrap all in it because I had to individually wrap each cracked screen and put it in a box and ship them out to Alabama. And I was buying them for $2 a screen and selling them for $5 a screen. And it was, as small as, it sounds like a small spread, but when you're doing that with hundreds of screens.
Well, no, that's a 60% spread. That's a good spread.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
I mean, when we're working on in my industry now, we're working on, if we get the double-digit profits, we're happy.
That's awesome.
We're 11, 10, 12%.
Absolutely.
Living the good life.
Absolutely.
60%. Well, you got to throw in the shipping too, though.
Well, they actually covered the shipping. They send you the shipping label.
Really?
Yeah, they literally send you the shipping label.
It makes you think what they were reselling them for, because they were making money too.
Well, I took it. Well, here's a whole nother level, and I didn't actually succeed on this end because the iPhone 6 came out. What happened was, I'm like, you know what? Am I giving away all of the money at the end of the day? Like, what are these people doing? And I did some research, and what they were doing is when you crack a screen, the LCD still works under the cracked glass. So what I did was bought this machine. It cost about $600, and it was like a hot plate. And you put the screen on there, and it loosens up the glue between the screen and the LCD. And then you put like something that's
separated.
Like a fishing wire almost, and it separates the two. And then now you have a fresh LCD that works. And then you can go on like Alibaba or anywhere from China. You can buy the actual glass for an iPhone.
Right.
10 to 50 cents a screen. And now you can refurbish an entire freshly brand new screen and sell it for $60. So I bought that, did all of that as I learned and got good at it and started to use those freshly screens. The iPhone 5 came out and no one wanted to get their, or iPhone 6 came out and no one wanted to get their phone repaired anymore. They were like, yeah, I'm just going to wait until I get the iPhone 6. And I was like, damn, put me out of business.
Hey, man, that's technology. I could introduce you to some people that had record players.
I actually have one.
All the people that bought the machines to make labels and albums.
Damn. Oh, damn. I didn't even think about those little ancillary businesses.
How about CDs? When CDs came out, no one was, well, most people were like, for one, they were way too expensive. Not the CDs, but the actual players.
Yeah.
Dude, come on.
Yep.
And then it was like, what are you going to do with all your records? They're never going to get rid of records. They're never going to get rid of cassette tapes.
And now look where we're at
now. Now see all the people that invested in CD machines, where are they at? Because everything, most things are MP3s or digital downloads.
Absolutely. That's
one of the guys I talked to, actually the second guest on my podcast was Cowboy Troy. He's a country singer, and he's all about diversification, because he goes, it's very, very, very difficult to make. It's like the NFL. He's on stage with Big and Rich and some Toby Keith and all these big guys.
Yep.
But he's not Drew Brees. He's not Cam Newton.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So people think, you're on the line. You must be a multi-millionaire.
Oh, it's so true. People, me just being in the NFL as an undrafted guy and looking at me like I'm this big-time millionaire. I'm like, buddy.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, and that's Troy was the same way. So he's producing, he's doing all these different things, trying to, have different sources of income.
It's critical.
And he went back and got his MBA in his 40s.
Oh, wow.
Because of the business things he wanted to do. So you're 15 years ahead. You got a really good start, man.
I hope so, brother.
When your fiance has she always known you as a football player?
Yeah, we actually met when I was a rookie on the Arizona Cardinals, and she's actually a basketball player. It's a very interesting thing going on with our relationship and our aspect of our relationship. So she's currently, next month, will be trying out for a semi-pro team out in St. Louis. When we found out she was pregnant, that week she was actually signing her professional contract to go overseas to go play in Switzerland. She's about 6'2" and got a really, really good 3-point shot. So we're going to see how hopefully this semi-pro league plays out, and maybe there is potential that she can get back to playing overseas. And that'll be awesome. There's nothing more than I'd love to support her after she supported me these last 3 years. Heck yeah.
Your daughter's going to hopefully gets the best of both of you guys.
Exactly. She was a newborn this whole season, but it'll be awesome to be able to take her to watch her mommy play basketball.
Well, it's just so interesting because you're going to have some really great stories to share.
Absolutely.
That's the stuff I look at. What's your 5-year, 10-year goal? Where do you want it? Where do you see yourself?
We're still writing the story, obviously.
Yeah.
From a real estate perspective, 5-10 years. I want to have at least 500 units in terms of multifamily apartments. And then from a speaking perspective, I'd love to just be in the position where, you know, I'm making a decent amount from speaking, but I have the, whether it's the power or the wherewithal to be able to essentially, and I would not necessarily say no because I love speaking, but be in the position to be able to say no, and really be able to, one, focus on more of my daughter's life and our future. Hopefully have a couple more kids running around at that age.
There you go.
I'm very family oriented, so I really see it more as, for me, my goals align with more of my family's goals. Hopefully 5 to 10 years, we're in a position of essentially financial freedom where the grind isn't necessarily from 6 a.m. till 1 a.m. every day.
Right.
You know, maybe it's till 10 p.m., 9 p.m. Because, you know, right now, after, you know, when my daughter goes to sleep around 7:30, that's probably when I get my most work done, from, you know, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. is while she's asleep, and I can actually grind down and focus.
Let me ask you this question, and only because you're a Gary Vee follower like myself.
Yep.
And with my background, what I went through in commercial real estate,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do if next year the worst case scenario happened, economy-wise?
Oh, in terms of the market turning,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to make it bad, you know, sound bad, but I wouldn't say I can't wait until it happens, because I'm putting myself in a position so I can be as liquid as possible during that downturn. Because the guys who are successful now, the guys who are the so-called gurus right now, are the guys who are in the position to actually invest after an economy turned, and instead of being a victim of the economy turning.
Right.
Because if I'm a victim of it, you know, I'm not in the position to be a victim of it, but being a victim of it now puts you in a sense where now you're reacting to everything that's going on in your life, reacting to everything that's going on into the economy, the ecosystems, and all that. Whereas if you go into the downturn with a level of liquidity and prepared for it and looking out for it, then now you can be on the offense during those downturns, and people will turn to you for help, and you've given away, you know, you'll have leverage during that downturn. Because right now you can't. Right now, you know, I think it's, you know, prime time, not prime time, but if there's any more time to buy properties and buy them with debt, your strategy better be a long-term strategy, and your strategy, if that's your plan anyway to do it soon, you better do it ASAP, because when the economy turns, as you know, banks aren't going to be as willing to lend, one, and two, interest rates are going to go out of the roof.
Yeah, for what I went through, it wasn't even interest rates. It was literally, you couldn't buy land as a developer unless you had from a bank. You couldn't get a loan from a bank unless you had somebody that was willing to buy it. And you couldn't get anybody to want to buy it until you had something to actually sell.
Exactly, and it really comes down to being prepared. Victory is in the preparation, and I think that I'm setting myself up so if an economic downturn happens tomorrow, I can essentially be okay.
That's the only thing, and that's just how I am. I consider you a friend now, in a sense.
Absolutely.
When we had our office buildings, we were like at 94% occupied. I mean, we were living good. We were well above what we needed. When the economy crashed, based on the tenants, all of a sudden we were at 60. All of a sudden we were at 55. All of a sudden another tenant, then they didn't move out. They went out of business. So there was nothing for us to even go after them. There was no scaling down with them. It was like, we're fucking gone.
Damn.
And also we're at 40%. And now all of a sudden we're not making enough mortgage, or we're not bringing in enough rent to pay off the note. So now we're having to come out of our own coffers just to pay the note every month.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of another where, you know, from my strategy perspective, is where I've protected myself. Is right now my strategy is C-class multifamily properties.
Yeah.
Because my thoughts are, is one, when the economy turns, people are going to move out of A-class properties and into B, C-type properties, or they're going to stay in those A-type properties, and those A owners are going to have to lower the rent, or they're going to lose all their tenants. And I'd rather not be in that position. You kind of stay in that C plus, B minus range of tenants and property type. Then I think that's probably the most protected asset class out there.
I agree with that. I would just tell you what, like I said, worst case scenario would be your tenants stop paying you, but they still live there.
Yeah,
Now you've got to go through the eviction process. You're still not making any income off the property. It's costing you for your attorney to file paperwork and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And you know, as long as you don't overextend yourself. I just saw so many people get crushed.
Yeah, I mean, because there's opportunity everywhere still, and people get that shiny ball syndrome, and I'm going to invest in this, and I'm going to invest in that, and I'm going to invest in this just because I have money, but then not paying attention to what's actually happening on paper and what's happening in the future.
When next time you come back out to LA, if you remember, you were talking about Ranchos Palos Verdes.
Yep.
There was a guy who bought when the last downturn happened. He's a residential guy. Mm-hmm. And he had cash. And what he did when it turned down, the developers, like I said, developers got hurt the worst because they literally couldn't get a loan to build anything.
Yep.
So all the developers were literally just either defaulting or giving away their land.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy went out and bought a whole bunch of the big properties up there on the hill, the dirt.
Damn.
And I mean, probably 40 to 50 lots up there on the hill. And then he bought some down here on the flatlands down along the water too. Okay. And he's literally become a millionaire. And I mean, multiple times over, because as soon as the economy got better, he started building the homes. The contractors were just thankful to have a job. So he was able to get the contracting, the development costs really low. Because they're like, oh shit, somebody's building. Let's what do you want us to build it to you for? And so he crushed it. And he was making. So he owned the property, he owned the land. He did the contracting, sold the property. He was a real estate agent. He owned his own firm. He was a broker.
Oh, he was making money on every end of it,
all the way around.
Man.
And then, since he became so well known as the guy that's selling 10, and these properties were $7 to $12 million for these homes. So he became the go-to guy. So when people went to go sell their homes, they came to him because he knew everybody that was in the market. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So just like how you were saying, he was the only guy I really knew that took advantage of it around here. There's obviously several others, but I know more that didn't make it through.
Yeah, I wouldn't say fortunate enough. I was very young during the last economic turn, but I got to witness, after going to a very, very elite boarding school, I got to been getting a scholarship to go to that boarding school, and not necessarily coming from money, but a lot of my classmates did. But seeing their reactions and their tears in their eyes when that happened.
And all of a sudden, parents couldn't afford to keep them in school anymore.
Yeah, it got real fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw a lot of that around here too. It's common. I mean, it's not. Oh no, it's not going to happen again. No, it happens. We're overdue.
So history repeats itself, and we're already past those prices, pre-08 prices.
That's there are a couple of things that when I listen to Gary, I tend to be more skeptical, and because I hear a lot of different people, and I never mention the people I don't listen to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when Gary says things like it's coming, you're like, oh man, finally someone's out there preaching it.
Yeah,
it's coming.
And someone who's really got a touch on the market. I think my biggest thought on the next, I don't know what the next correction is going to be, but I definitely assume that one of the next corrections will be, whether it's this one or the one after it, is the college, university, student market. It's that student debt versus the value of colleges. It does not align with it doesn't align anymore.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Thanks for telling me now that I just paid off both my curls going through college, but whatever.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, it sets you up and it puts
I hear you, man.
Gets you in the right rooms, but the way, I mean, just the one thing that doesn't help is that celebrity scandal that just came out, because if those couple people are doing it, there's a lot more people doing it.
And they found out about that by accident.
Exactly. So now they're going to be looking for it.
Yeah. Well, it's just like all the athlete scandals that we've had over the years with Reggie Bush. I don't know if you even remember those things.
Yeah, I remember the Reggie Bush one. And right now, I don't know if you saw, there's a Nike one happening like today. It just came out.
With Mike Avenatti and all that.
Yep.
Hey, dude, that's been going on for forever.
Yep.
Not forever. I'd say in the 70s, 80s is when the manufacturers really started helping athletes, through high school, and so there's a whole bunch of documentaries out there, where the Adidas people were hey, I'm not going to help you, I can't help you, but how's your uncle doing? Oh, your uncle needs a house? I can help him out with that. As long as you go to Villanova or XYZ. I don't know. I'm just making. I don't want to get anybody. I don't know. Because they're an Adidas school, so we'd really like you to consider going there. And if you consider going there, maybe I can help out your aunt and your uncle. So they weren't directly helping them. Yeah. But at the same time. Yeah. And I know firsthand of very famous college athletes that went into the pros that weren't supposed to be making as college athletes, but they were selling their autographs and gear through their friends and family. Even very, very famous college athletes. And you're like, oh yeah, they were selling stuff out of the garage, and they were helmets and footballs and signing stuff.
Absolutely.
So I mean that stuff's been going on forever. I think that the next correction, I hope, isn't too big.
Me too. I think there's a couple more measures in place so it doesn't get as bad as '08, but you never know. It's any type of human-built system always has flaws.
The student debt thing could be crushing.
Yeah, it could be, because then you're going to also, from a real estate perspective, you're going to have, I mean, just from a market perspective, you got to think about how many of these markets rely on student housing and the economic impact of having a college in those cities. So now people who have real estate in some of those cities, and that bubble bursts, now what happens? What happens to property values? What happens to all those jobs? What happens to it could be like that bubble bursting, in my opinion, could be worse than '08.
Well, yeah, and because then I'll take it to the next level, because the banks are taking on these student loan debts as collateral, kind of like how AIG and all these guys were taking on the mortgages, right? So they were taking on all this bad note paper, saying, "No, it'll never happen. You could always flip it. You could always sell, blah 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 blah." Same thing. Now, if these kids start defaulting on paying off their loans, the banks aren't going to have the collateral of the money. And all it took, the last one was the only thing, but when AIG went from a AAA to a AA rating, that was it. End of the world. Because all of a sudden, their clause in their loans was, if you ever get downgraded at any level, all your loans can become due and payable. All of them. Well, no one ever thought AIG would go from a AAA to a AA. It's still a AA rated company.
Yep.
It's not like they were an F rated company.
Yep.
They were still stellar. Just end of the world. And I think that's it's going to affect that. It could affect the housing and the student housing and all that, and then it could affect the banks, where the banks aren't going to be able to, they're all.
Yeah, and then what happens? Like you already got, I think, or some banks they're garnishing some people's wages, and then what happens? You got banks damn near owning people.
Yeah, that's right. And then there'll be the revolt. And then, but that money is still owed.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
I was talking to my daughters before the 16 election. They were both in college at the time. And they really liked Bernie Sanders. because it was free college.
Yep.
I go, really? Is it free?
There's no such thing as a free lunch out there.
I go, are the professors going to work for free? Well, they're going to get paid. Well, who's going to pay them? Well, the government. Well, who pays the government? Your taxes. Who pays more in taxes on average? College graduates. So you're just going through a deferred payment program. It's going to take you even longer because if more people have a college degree, it won't be worth as much.
Exactly.
And if it's not worth as much, it won't take as much, but you're still going to make more than people that didn't go to college on average. So you're going to pay more in taxes right back to the government. So you're going to pay for your college. It's just going to take you a while.
Yep. It's just written a little differently.
Yeah. I go, because unless the colleges don't make any money and don't pay anybody, and the landscaping's done for free, and the electricity is for free, and the water's for free, and everything else is for free, someone's got to get paid. And the money's got to come from somewhere. And if it's tax money, well, guess what? We pay more in taxes. So that's the one thing I think it sounds great on paper. Free college for everybody, but
that changes a lot of things. It's free.
It ain't free. So, what's the best way for people to reach you, Hakeem?
I think the best way is probably social media. Whether it's LinkedIn, my first and last name, or it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and my Instagram, Twitter handle is just Hak, H-A-K. My first three letters of my name, and then Valles, V as in Victor, A-L-L-E-S, and then the number 80, so Hak Valles 80. Something I've actually got to work on, actually getting changed to just Hakeem. It's very, very simple, but that's
where did that 80 come from?
That was my number in college.
And
that was when I made my Twitter and Instagram. So I was very, not really thinking that much ahead in the future. But I reach out. I get back to everyone, whether it's DMs, whether it's comments on the bottom of my photos. It's back to Gary V. Everything's going to get responded to. So feel free to reach out. I just love chatting with like-minded individuals.
What would be your? I'm trying to think. What would be your ideal situation for speaking? Do you like schools? Do you like companies?
Right now, my ideal, most comfortable situation of speaking is probably colleges, because I can connect with them the most, because, I was just in college, and it's more of a immediate action that you can take to start seeing some tangible success. Whereas, talking to middle schoolers today, it was more of, in their, not necessarily tangible, but from a happiness perspective, I hope I helped allow them to see some sort of immediate happiness. In terms of one of the biggest topics I hit on today was, not being scared to be corny, or what is perceived as corny to your classmates. Like when I was their age, I was telling them I used to wake up early so I could go meet with a teacher at my middle school so he could teach me magic tricks. So I loved magic. And I wasn't, the beauty of growing up, what I did is that Twitter, Instagram, and those things weren't really that relevant. So it wasn't like people necessarily got to shame me for doing things like that. And then when I was in high school, I was in honors theater, like starting quarterback doing honors theater. That's what I'm saying? People aren't doing things like that. Because it's, it's what's cool right now. I got to wear the shoes that everyone else has. I have to do what everyone else is doing if I want to keep up with the Joneses, and how social media goes. And
it was even, I had even less than you, and I would tell my daughters and their friends, like, you think we didn't do stupid shit? We just didn't record it.
Exactly.
And thank God. 30 years later, I don't want someone going, hey, were you an idiot on spring break in 1983? Look at the stuff going on now with Kavanaugh and all the politics. You take a picture from 35 years ago.
Insane.
Imagine turn that around in 30 years. 30 years from now, all these kids that have videos and Facebook posts and Instagram posts that they think are private.
People are going to be getting exposed. People are getting exposed now. You see it every year. Every NFL draft, every NBA draft, somebody goes and digs out the tweets of some of those top 5 draft picks of them saying whether it's the N-word or whether they're saying something that's homophobic or something of that nature, and then boom. I think it won't ever stop. And as people get older and older and older and get on larger and larger stages, people are obviously already coming together and realizing that this behavior is unacceptable, and this behavior has always existed. It's just now we're being exposed.
Well, I can tell you the most recent story, just to share, maybe share with other people. But in my industry, I'm a 100% commission salesperson. So if I go out and don't make any sales today, I don't make any money today.
Yep.
Some of the people in our company are salaried employees. So the company pays their salary, pays for their car, their gas, their hotel, their food, and all that. I don't want to be that. I like where I'm at. I'm good.
Yep.
Don't tell me how to run my day, and let me just, if I'm not performing, fire me.
I respect that 100%.
But this girl was a salaried employee, and she put in her calendar through her Microsoft Outlook, hey, I'm going to hit this store, this store, this store, and this store these days on this weekend. I'm going to make a weekend trip. And the boss is like, yeah, okay. Sees the calendars, approves it. Goes out, gets fired the next week because on her fucking Instagram, she's posting that she's at the football game and partying and having fun and spend the weekend. And so the boss who sees the Instagram post says, I thought she was supposed to be working because I just paid salary, hotel, food, gas, drinks. I wondered why it was so expensive. So he calls up the stores and says, hey, did XYZ come by the store? Oh, no, I didn't see her. The other store, yeah, she came by. She just dropped off some calories, but she said she had to get to the game, so she didn't stay long.
That's crazy, man.
Like, dude, if you don't post anything, guess what? He doesn't know. He doesn't know you're at the game.
That's how it goes.
So,
or you're just being a genuine and good person and doing what your job is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, there is that. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, do your job and get paid for what you say. Or just don't brag that you're doing something else. You know what I mean?
Exactly. 100%.
So that's social media in a nutshell. I will definitely put all the links on my website and on all the pages so people can reach out to you. And like I said, if you ever come back out to LA, you won't be doing it for football anymore. So
that sounds great. I'm all about following up. So
I know. I thought about that before I threw that out there.
I'll be following up with you, brother.
All right, bud. Hey, I appreciate the time, and I will let you know when we get this thing posted up.
That sounds great. I appreciate you, brother. You have a good one.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Hakeem.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.